what are the reactive things to where when you're laying at night and the negative crap starts going through your head and it starts to become that cycle that I'm talking about? How do you go about breaking that?
For me, it's the biggest thing has been having a team of people that I trust and can talk to, because I know that I can't always trust my own thoughts, but being able to share them with other people who can kind of be a sounding board and, keep me in check, I think has been the most valuable thing is just talking about it. Because even sometimes I'll have thoughts and I'll say them out loud and be like, wow, that sounds silly. And just having someone to talk through them with, I think is the most important thing. And I think a lot of people like to just bottle it up.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing you can do is just own it and talk about it. And then I think a lot of times you'll realize oh, I'm being kind of silly.
Do you find that I try to keep people around me that are realists, but then I also try to keep people around me that are enablers, so people to enable the stupid shit.
Yeah.
But then the realists.
Do one more.
Yeah. So do you find a balance that you have to have those two type of people around you? Because you can end up leaning more into one that you want to bias at a certain time than the other. So how do you go about that balance?
Yeah, it depends on context. I think I am very fortunate in that I train at a gym with a lot of high-level athletes. And so we all kind of get it. And I think all of us can kind of tell when someone's just kind of being a bitch and needs to be pushed a little bit versus when someone needs to a reality check versus if someone needs compassion. I think because we've all been there, we've all competed at a high level. There's several of us, there's 3 of us here that are competing at the Arnold, which is crazy. 3 out of the same gym. We have like Olympic level weightlifters. We just have a lot of people in the same boat. And I think that that's also really valuable is surrounding yourself with people who are kind of going after the same things as you or similar things or have similar goals and a similar mindset. I think can end up being both of those people because they know when one's appropriate.
Do you worry from a mental health standpoint that you can always drop back to where it was that led to you having to go to the camp? So how do you manage that?
I think that's not been so much of a worry the past couple of years. I think really just because I love strongman so much. And at this point, even if I were to stop competing, you asked me earlier if I would keep training, if I stopped competing, and at this point I would. And so for me, that love in my life, I think will always trump what else is going on.
Well, you said over the past years when you started to come to that realization. So what helped you come to that realization?
I think it's not so much a realization is that I started letting myself have fun again. I think I got to a point in my career where I took everything way too seriously and it was everything was black and white. I did everything textbook perfect. I had to I cut people socializing out of my life and I just didn't let myself have fun for a long time. I think in my brain I was if I was having fun, I wasn't working hard enough. And it was which is silly, it can be both, but I took it way too seriously and I didn't let myself enjoy my life for a long time. And I think in the last year and a half, I've kind of started to find the joy in things again. Me and Angelica Jardine, she's the last year Arnold winner. She's here this weekend. We started doing content together, just stupid gym challenges and shenanigans at the gym that we started posting for content. And it's kind of funny now that I go places and people recognize us for that. Oh, we love the content you're putting out. Thanks for showing that the gym can be a fun place. And which is kind of funny to me after years of being so much the opposite of that now I'm associated by strangers as being this advocate for fun in the gym. But I think that's important. I think that's been the biggest mindset shift for me is accepting that it's better to be mentally healthy and maybe not do everything perfectly. And that actually has helped my performance instead of doing everything by the book and being miserable.
Well, it's an easy trap to fall down because this is your career too, right? So you don't think you're working hard enough. And it's that I see a lot of people that go through that and then they get stuck in it and then they end up in this weird place where they actually start to hate, the thing that they're doing.
Yeah, I think I got, it was probably a year and a half ago, I think I got to that point where I realized I don't enjoy this anymore. Why is that? I started doing this because I loved it and because it was fun. And then I got to a point where I dreaded training and I wasn't even looking forward to competing. And I was something has to change.
Do you have the opportunity to go to just some local shows here and there?
I do. Yeah. I actually really like judging shows. So every once in a while we'll go out and like, there's an all women show in California that I judge every year, and I have a blast doing that. I'll help with like the show that we put on at Dungeon each year. And I love doing that. I love kind of revisiting the amateur side of the sport and being like around people that are excited doing their first show. I think some of us get like removed from that.
Well, I have a lot of, when I see those things with powerlifters, I try to have them do that same thing, because when they do that, they're reminded, of that this is fun. And then
that's why you start.
Yeah. I mean, you may see the person deadlift 315 that's overcoming cancer. It's not a big deadlift, but it is for them.
Yeah. But you see the excitement on their face, like when they achieve that, like,
and that's why you started in the first place. And when you're at the pro level, at the top level, and that's all you're really ever around, then it is strategic. It's, all the boxes have to be checked. It's a full-time job. And that's all you see is other people doing that full-time job, and it becomes that full-time job. Then you fucking hate it.
Yeah.
And then you go back and you're like, oh, this is why I started.
Yeah.
So that grounding of that. So what advice would you have given if it happened over the past year? What advice would you have given yourself 3 years ago to not get to that place? And you can't say just have fun.
I would say in general to not pay so much attention to what other people were doing. I think that's when it started to get stressful, when I started like, who am I going up against? What do I need to do to win? What do I need? Like, who do I need to beat? And it started to become like just too much. Like I got too obsessive over it. So I think if I could go back and just kind of focus more on myself, what I was doing, I think that would help a lot.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's what contributed the most to your mindset shift?
Possibly.
Okay.
I think something I do now, I love other girls I compete against. Most of us are pretty good friends. I'll mute most of them on Instagram, like for prep for a show, because I know myself, and it's like seeing what other people are doing, like gets in your head. And like, oh, well, if they're hitting this, I need to hit this. And I don't think that's productive. Like, I can't do any better than my best, and trying to like stress myself out about needing to do more than that takes the enjoyment out of the process, but also just creates so much more stress and anxiety that's not productive. And so for me, just like trying not to pay attention to what other people are doing, I think is really important.
Well, if you really think through it, what productive can come from that?
Not at all.
I guess the only thing would be if you don't work hard at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you work harder, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
You're going to work hard. I think, and there is some strategy, in a show with the lineup, if for like a deadlift, for example, like the reality, like for example, this weekend, the reality is I'm probably taking second to last on the deadlift, because in general, we know what all the girls can roughly deadlift. And I know that whether I PR by 10 pounds or 50 pounds, it's probably not going to change my points that much. So something like that, strategically, it might make sense to think like, do we want to put so much energy into deadlift training if we know that it's not going to affect the points that much? Okay. And so in something like that, it does make sense to kind of keep tabs on what other people are doing. I think it's better to have a coach that you trust that's going to do that for you.
Yeah.
And then they're going to do the work and know what you need to do, so that as an athlete, you can kind of be hands off in terms of like assessing the competition. Yeah. But having a coach that's willing to do that and pay attention, I think is valuable.
Yeah. You had some insight.
Yeah. If you have let's say you have a nutritionist and you have a coach, have you, and it's fine if you don't want to answer this one, but have you also had someone that has helped you with the mental side of it, such as a sports therapist or psychologist?
Yeah, so I've actually was in therapy just with a general counselor up until like maybe a year ago. I actually stopped seeing her for a variety of reasons, but I just actually started recently working with, her name's Amelia, Cerebral Wellbeing on Instagram. She works with a lot of strongman athletes, specifically when it comes to, she specifically works with strength athletes and like the mentality and, mental health techniques associated with, I'm very recent with her. It's only been a few weeks. I kind of reached out because I felt myself struggling going into the show. It's been a really, really hard prep for the Arnold, and I felt myself kind of mentally struggling. And so I reached out to her a few weeks ago. So it's still new, but it's been great so far. And even like the last couple of weeks, just talking through all of it, I think has helped a lot and got me to a better place, even in the span of 2 or 3 weeks. So.
What are some other strategies that you've used outside of just talk therapy? She
has me doing a lot of like grounding techniques. It was actually really interesting. We were talking about Because she asked me if I'm an angry lifter, and I said no. Like I know some people get like really hyped, like and like headbutt walls and stuff. That's never been me. And so we kind of talked about that, like how to find like hype in the gym. And so she explained it kind of cool. She said like people's like baseline. A lot of times people will like spike and get like really angry, but if you don't like lifting up here and you want to lift more down here, you still need to have an energy spike before you lift. And so she's like, a strategy that she uses is instead like grounding techniques to kind of like bring your baseline down before a lift, so that you're kind of like down here, you can chill out, ground, mellow out, and then use more positive like motivational strategies to kind of like spike your energy and hype yourself back up to more what would be close to a baseline for someone who's like an angry lifter. But and that's been kind of interesting, like stuff like that I wouldn't have ever thought about. Like for me, it was like I just need to find a way to like get angry when I lift, and it doesn't work for me. So that's been really cool.
So it's techniques based upon your heart rate, or is it breathing? How do you bring it ground?
Some breathing drills. Should be like, there's a couple different ones, like body scanning, breathing drills. There's some stuff that's just like different like observational things, like focusing in on something and like identifying small details about it. Just something that kind of takes your mind away from the external environment and like focuses it on something.
What is body scanning?
It's kind of like, she has an audio that I listen to. It's kind of like you kind of start at your toes and you're aware of the sensations and like feel your shoes on your feet, and you kind of like work up and you're just mindful about the sensations, like feeling your pant leg. You know, like is your skin hot or cold? Like you kind of like scan up your body, and it's just a way to kind of bring your mind inward.
Focus.
Yeah.
And with the focusing, when I was in junior high, I had somebody that was mentally helping with sport psychology and stuff like that. And it started with a candle and the flame, you know, so you turn the lights out and then you study the flame. You know, there's the wick and there's the different colors, and the body scanning and all those things is essentially all you're doing is you're focusing on one thing. And while you're focusing on one thing, you can't focus on all the other things. You know, all the distractions that are going to pull you away, negative thoughts, all those other type of things there. And it also will decrease the heart rate, which would, you know, help you recover better. Then comes back up. But when you're dealing with that arousal curve, everybody sits different. You know, obviously you can go to the over arousal, but some people need to, I think angry is always bad, by the way, right? Because you can't focus. Right. And you'll see that if they stay long enough, if they stay around long enough, you're going to see they'll transfer out of that, and they'll still mentally be where they need to be, but they're not going to be expanding all that extra energy, which you're going to need for the event you're going to do. Which, if you realistically think this through, it really sounds stupid. Right? Like get yourself super hyped up, waste 10% of your energy, and then exhausting. Then do the thing. But it's also not good to go in doubts, you know, with doubts and not ready either. So everybody falls in a different place. And it's interesting growing up in gyms, seeing that certain people that may work up here, you know, will see somebody that works here, then get mad at them because they don't get angry and super psyched up. It's like, this guy's kicking your ass, by the way, you know, and then you can rub it in and talk shit. Like, you know, you're getting your ass kicked by somebody who doesn't even get psyched up. You know, it's always fun play. But that happened. Have you seen that, both of you guys, have you seen this same type of scenario in gyms that you've been at, where you'll take the person that gets overly aroused, right? And then criticize the people that don't, you know, maybe not to their face. You know,
like, I think I'm very lucky with having a really great gym environment where we don't see a whole lot of that, but there is definitely a difference. And I think there will be people that will try to like help you get high. People will, like yell at me, like, do you want a backslap? I'm like, don't touch me. Like, they just want to help. But I think people always think that like more hype and more energy and louder is better and helpful. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes I'm like, can you please stop yelling? So
if you didn't have the people around to be able to help ground the mental side, where do you think you would be competing now?
What do you mean?
With the mental health history and the mental health challenges that you face, having the therapist and, you know, the people around, the realists and the enablers and all that, if you were just left to your own demise?
I don't know. Probably not. No, I think all of that has been really valuable for me. And I think not just having those people around, but like me being in a space to actually want to work toward getting better. I think a lot of people will like surround themselves with the right people and like go to therapy and like think they're doing the right things, but unless you're actually ready and willing to do the work, I think that's also just having the people around isn't enough, I don't think. 'Cause I see that a lot too, that people will surround themselves with the right people, but then they'll get feedback or hear things and then be like, or they'll brush it off, like, oh, like
focus on the wrong thing.
yeah, or like not take it seriously, or I don't know. It's, you have to get out of that like victim mentality of just accepting that like, oh, this is how I am. You have to be like be ready to change.
Now, if you have somebody that you're training with that is in that position, haven't you been through all that? How would you help them get ready to change? Because they still have to make that decision.
Yeah, it's really hard. And I've worked with people that like say they want to, but aren't. It's hard because you really can't make someone do the work. You can give them tools and you can help them along the process. But like, I think that is one of the hard parts about being a coach sometimes, is like sometimes people will come to you and they're really just not willing or ready to change. And you can talk people through that, and sometimes you can reach them. But you also can't force someone to want to change if they don't want to. And it's hard. I mean, it's hard. And I think until something happens in someone's life to make them want to change, I don't think any sort of talking to people is going to get through most of the time. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when you say that, the first thing that came to my head is, oh, you know, they have to hit a spot that you really don't want to see them hit.
No, and like it's sad, but
you gotta hit rock bottom at some point. Yeah,
but everybody's rock bottom can be different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So when you speak about these topics, do you have people reach out to you?
You mean,
the mental health?
Yeah. Oh, yes. For sure. I think I was really hesitant to start talking about it. Not because I'm very comfortable talking about it. I always get worried because I think there's a lot of people that will post about mental health stuff as kind of like a pity party and just like wanting people to like check in on them. And I didn't want to come across like that. Like I want to talk about my experience in a way that's not like feel bad for me. And it took me a while to kind of gain the courage or confidence to say anything publicly about it, because I'm like, I don't want to come across like I'm just looking for pity from people. And it ended up being wildly positive. I had a lot of people reach out saying like, thanks for sharing that. Like I go through similar things. Can we talk about it? And I think that's for all the negative that social media brings to the world, which I think is a lot. I think there's also a lot of positive in that ability to connect with people and relate to people going through similar experiences that you might not have access to in your day-to-day life. I think has been really cool.
Just letting people know that they're not alone sometimes is all the difference.
Yep.
So
yeah, I did a podcast, I think not last year, but the year before, with a lot of the World's Strongest Woman winners about like the post-comp blues. Because I think it's something that we all kind of go through silently and kind of know that everyone experiences, but no one really talks about it. Like it'll be mentioned, but kind of like joked about, or and we got together, we did a podcast where we just talked about it for like an hour, like just like openly, like what does that experience actually look like for you, really? And really just talking about it, I think helped a lot. I think all of us felt better. I know I definitely felt better after doing that, just talking through it. I'm like, oh, that actually helped a lot, just to know that it's normal.
Yeah, that you're not the only one. When you guys are together, do you talk about how you manage all the shitty comments too?
I mean, yeah. I mean, that always comes up. Like that, it's hard. At this point, I think most of it just kind of ignore it. But it's tough. I think years ago, they used to bother me a lot more than they do. Most of the time now I can just let it roll off my back, but
well, you get enough of them and you get callous to it.
Yeah.
And you got to remember it's still engagement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're trying to build the brand, then the comments are comments.
Yeah. I welcome it. And like, there's days that I'm like not in the mood to deal with it, but in general, it's unfortunately part of putting yourself out there. I think anyone that puts themselves out there publicly, like not just in this space, but you know, anywhere on social media, anyone has any significant following is going to get hate from someone.
Yeah.
I think it's just an unfortunate reality of putting yourself out to the masses.
Well, what can help a lot of you guys is to actually click through and look at who that person is.
Yeah.
And normally they're anonymous, which means they have bigger problems of their own.
Yeah.
The ones that could potentially sting would be the real people, you know, and people that may be in not your immediate circle, but a couple rings outside of your circle, then maybe there might be some truth in what they're saying. But you know how fucking rare that is?
It's usually strange.
Normally they're going to tell you to your face, you know, it's not going to be that realm. But that's the important thing there, is to realize that, fuck, it could even be a bot.
Yeah.
You know, you got to think that far, that this could just be some China or Russia farm bot that's just blowing shit up for whatever reason.
I mean, as corny as it is, the one thing that helped me get over a lot of these, especially like my wife's in strength sports too, and I'd get more defensive over her, over the comments that she gets than I would get on about mine. I don't care what people say on my videos and whatnot, but realizing that the people trying to hurt you with some sort of terrible comment are the ones also already hurt. That's what gave me a big shift in like, all right, why are you saying this? You know, do you have other issues? Do you want to discuss? Perhaps it's fine if you do, you know. And often replying positively to the snarkiest comment has turned them around. They're like, oh, sorry, I didn't think about it, or, you know, some weird.
And then that can be the case a lot of the times too. You know, they didn't mean, well, they say, you know, they didn't mean whatever they said. But it's interesting because people will bitch about no comments. It's like, be careful what you wish for. Again, none of my shit gets any comments at all. Then you get comments and 5 out of 20 are shitty. Like, oh God, this just ruined my day. Like, you know, but
should
it really though? That's the point.
No,
it shouldn't whatsoever.
No, because I don't think anyone that's accomplishing anything is doing that. No, like no one that's actually working to better themselves has the time or desire to shit on other people trying to do the same. So.
And you get used to it.
You
know, over a period of time. I mean, Elon Musk is getting drilled right now. Like, you think he's really got the time to worry about the negative comments?
He probably doesn't even look at him.
With your path coming up through, there was a point that you also decided that you wanted to make a career out of this. So first question is, why did you want to make a career out of this? Or how did you come to that conclusion that you wanted to make a career out of this? And then how did you go about moving that forward?
I just think I can. I mean, I think it's a path that hasn't been tread yet, but I love the sport. And honestly, the idea of like a 9-to-5 has never appealed to me. Like I've never wanted to just go clock into an office job or doing like, I like paving my own path. And so there's appeal to that, like the freedom that it gives my life. I like the ability to, you know, if I get an opportunity next week that I can fly across the country and take it because I'm not tied down to a job. I think that's important to me. And it's just like the ability to do what I love for a career. Who doesn't want that? And there's part of me that it's like, it is frustrating that like I have worked to become the best in the world at something. And I feel like I should be able to make a living doing that. So some of it is a little bit of like a frustration and wanting to prove that I can do it. I think a really kind of back to a topic from earlier, hard reality to take in for me is that making it a career means being more than an athlete. And so that's where kind of working on a lot of that stuff kind of came in. And it wasn't until I started prioritizing the non-sport parts of the job that I kind of started to at least feel like that path was possible. You know, I think I might not ever get there. It's hard, and I don't really know what I'm doing because no one's done it before. But I do think it's possible. It's just, I don't know what it looks like yet.
Yeah, that's an important takeaway from a lot of people hoping to be a professional strongman, strongwoman. Because like as a promoter and an athlete myself, I understand both aspects of it. And I'm trying to do my best now to bring the sport into a way that the athletes are treated like professional athletes, like in NFL or NHL or so, where they can do just the sport and they don't need to worry about any other job. But it requires the athletes to be those professional athletes for me to be able to do that for them. Because if they're not up to par, then, you know, there's nothing to go off of there.
I think a lot of like women in weight class athletes kind of look at the open men and be like, oh, it must be nice. Like so much easier for them. It is like, there's more opportunities, but if you look at like the open men that are really making like great livings and great careers, you know, I think like, you know, Mitch Hooper, Brian Shaw, Eddie Hall, like people that are really big names and are making big money in the sport. Like they're more than just athletes. Like they've put work into like developing their personal brand, like their social media, like building businesses. Like they've all done more than just be the best athletes.
90% of their posts are not lifting related.
Yeah. And then so I think that's a valuable lesson. It's like even the top men have to work hard at these other skills doing like, like Mitch Hooper's YouTube channel. He puts so much work into that. And like these other aspects of the job that other athletes want to complain about having to do, like, the top men are also having to do it. Like it is part of the job at every level for both genders.
Yeah. And let's be honest, even the funny videos, the memes and so on, I see them, I'm like, that's great. I have a great idea. You come to the gym and I'm not bothered to do that. Or I'm not bothered to record that or edit that. And like, there's a lot of work that goes into that past the 7 seconds that you see on Instagram of the final product. So,
well, the sport can give you the eyeballs, but what you do with the eyeballs is completely different.
Yeah, I remember it's almost verbatim. A post that I saw that really kind of changed my mindset was Dana Lynn Bailey. She posted something about how her Olympia win. I think she's saying that she won like 10 grand, which in the grand scheme of things for winning the Olympia might not even cover the cost of doing it. And how she expected her life to change and it didn't. And she kind of posted about that. And Rob, I saw comments on it. Winning gives you the platform, but it's still up to you what to do with that. And I remember reading that, and like that was like a light bulb moment for me. Like, yeah, like that. Like winning gives you a platform, but it's not everything. Like you still have to keep that momentum and do more work afterwards.
Well, if the end goal of the whole thing is the sports help change both your lives. Right. So the ultimate goal of whatever businesses you're in is to try to get people to have that same experience. If it's through the sport or through any other strength sport, that's what it is. So the net positive of that, is good. Right. So the more eyeballs is good. And how you go about monetizing it can go different ways. It can be the coaching, it can be promoting, it can be whatever it's got to be. Everybody's tried a multitude of different ways. But at the end of the day, that's who the customer is that demographic.